The Buried Giant, Chapter 3. The Saxon village, viewed from a distance and a certain height, would have been something more familiar to you as a village than Axel and Beatrice's warren. For one thing, perhaps because the Saxon had a keener sense of claustrophobia, there was none of this digging into the hillside. If you were coming down the steep valley slope as Axel and Beatrice were that evening, you would have seen below you some 40 or more individual houses laid out on the valley floor in two rough circles, one within the other. You might have been too far away to notice the variations in size and splendor, but you have been made out the thatched roofs and the fact that many were round houses, not so far removed from the kind in which some of you, perhaps your parents, were brought up. And if the Saxons were happy to sacrifice a little security for the benefits of open air, they were careful to compensate. A tall fence of tethered timber poles, their points sharpened like giant pencils, completely encircled the village. At any given point, the fence was at least twice a man's height, and to make the prospect of scaling it even less enticing, a deep trench followed it all the way around the outside. That would have been the picture Axel and Beatrice saw below them as they paused to catch their breath during their descent down the hill. The sun was setting over the valley now, and Beatrice, who had the better sight, was once more leaning forward, a step or two in front of Axel, the grass and dandelions around her as tall as her waist. "I can see 5 men guarding the gate," she was saying, "and I think they're holding spears. When I was last here with the women, it was nothing more than one gatekeeper and a pair of dogs. Are you sure there'll be a welcome here for us, Princess?" "Don't worry, Axel. They know me well enough by now. Besides, one of their elders here is a Briton, regarded by all as a wise leader, even if he's not of their blood. He'll see to it that we have a safe roof tonight. Even so, Axel, I think something's happened, and I'm uneasy. Now there's another man with a spear arrived, and that's a pack of fierce dogs with him." "Who knows what goes on with Saxons," said Axel. "We may be better seeking shelter elsewhere tonight." "The dark will soon be on us, Axel, and those spears are not intended for us. Besides, there's a woman in this village I was wanting to visit, one who knows her medicines beyond anyone in our own." Axel waited for her to say something further, and when she went on peering into the distance, he asked, "And why would you be after medicines, Princess?" "A small discomfort I feel from time to time. This woman might know something to soothe it." "What sort of discomfort, Princess? Where does it trouble you?" "It's nothing. It's only because we're needing some shelter here I'm thinking of it at all." "But where does it lie, Princess, this pain?" "Oh," without turning to him, she pressed a hand to her side just below the rib cage and then laughed. "It's nothing to speak of. You can see. It hasn't slowed me walking away today." "It hasn't slowed you one bit, Princess, and I'm the one having to beg we stop and rest." "That's what I'm saying, Axel, so it's nothing to worry about." "It hasn't slowed you down at all. In fact, Princess, you must be as strong as any woman half your age. Still, if there's someone here to help you with your pain, what's the harm in going to her?" "That's all I was saying, Axel. I brought a fair little tin to trade for medicines." "Who wants these little pains? We all have them, and we'll all be rid of them if we could. By all means, let's go to this woman. If she's here, and those guards let us pass." It was nearly dark by the time they crossed the bridge over the trench, and the torches had been lit on either side of the gate. The guards were large and burly, but looked panicked by their approach. "Wait a moment, Axel," Beatrice said quietly. "I'll go alone to speak with them." "Don't go near their spears, Princess. The dogs look calm, but those Saxons look foolish with fear." "It's as if they fear, Axel, old man that you are." "I'll soon show them their great error." She walked towards them boldly. The men gathered around her as she addressed them with their suspicious glances toward Axel. Then one of them called to him in the Saxon language to step closer to the torches, presumably so they could see he was not a younger man in disguise. Then, after a few more exchanges with Beatrice, the men allowed them through. Axel was puzzled that a village which from a distance looked to be two orderly rings of houses could turn out to be such a chaotic labyrinth now that they were walking through its narrow lanes. Admittedly, the light was fading, but as he followed Beatrice, he could discern no logic or pattern to the place. Buildings would loom unexpectedly in front of them, blocking their way and forcing them down baffling side alleys. They were obliged, moreover, to walk with even more caution than out on the roads, Not only was the ground pitted and full of puddles from the earlier storm, the Saxons seemed to find it acceptable to leave random objects, even pieces of rubble, lying in the middle of the path. But what troubled Axel most was the odor that grew stronger and fainter as they walked, but never went away. Like anyone of his time, he was well reconciled to the smell of excrement, human or animal, but this was something altogether more offensive. Before long, he had determined its source. All over the village, people had left out, on the fronts of houses and on the sides of the street, piles of putrefying meat as offerings to their various gods. At one point, startled by a particularly strong assault, Axel had turned to see, suspended from the eaves of a hut, a dark object whose shape changed before his eyes as the colony of flies perched on it dispersed. One moment later, they encountered a pig, being dragged by its ears by a group of children, dogs, cows, donkeys, under no one's supervision. The few people they met stared silently at them or else quickly vanished behind a door or shutter. "There's something strange here tonight," Beatrice whispered as they walked. "Usually they'd be sitting in front of their houses or perhaps gathered in circles laughing and talking, and the children would be following us by now, asking 100 questions and wondering to call us names and be our friends. Everything seems eerily still, and it makes me uneasy." "We are lost, Princess. Or are we still going toward the place they'll be sheltering us?" "I've been thinking we'd visit the woman about the medicines, but with things the way they are, we may be better off going straight to the old longhouse and keeping out of harm's way." "Are we far from the medicine lady's house?" "As I remember it, not far at all." "Then let's see if she's there. Even if your pain is a trivial thing, as we know it to be, there's no sense in feeling it at all if it can't be taken away." "It can wait till morning, Axel. It's not even a pain I notice till we're speaking of it." "Even so, Princess, now that we're here, why not go and see the wise woman?" "We'll do so if you particularly wish it, Axel, though I'd have happily left it for the morning or maybe the next time I'm passing through this place."